Monthly podcast, a show all about the X-Men, the comics, the movies, the TV shows, but mostly the comics. This is episode 6, books for the month of September 2017. I think we've got like 15, 16 books or so to go over all together. A special note, the next episode of Wednesday Night Gentlemen, I will discuss the premiere of The Gifted alongside actually the premiere of The Inhumans with my good buddy Tactic Angel. So please tune into that episode to hear our thoughts about those two shows. I'll give you a little preview. I'm pretty excited about The Gifted. Anyway, moving into X-Men comics for the month of September, starting off like we always do with X-Men Gold, issues 11 and 12. So X-Men Gold 11, we're already wrapping up the Omega Red story arc. Turns out Pete and Illyana's uncle is a bad guy, and I guess that's why his dad kept old Uncle Anatoly a secret all this time. So Anatoly in this issue, he leads the X crew to where his boss is holed up with a captured Illyana, who was legitimately captured, surprisingly. Turns out he is not the family man he professed to be and tries to shoot Colossus when his boss tells him to, which is kind of a bizarre turn because he's led the X-Men back to his boss's lair at this point. So he knows they're around. He knows they're watching him, and he's still going to try to kill his nephew in front of them. I mean, like I said, like I keep saying, I feel like we keep running into this theme over and over again of villains just kind of not really having much of a plan when it comes to facing off with the X-Men and attempting to achieve their goals. Anyway, so I don't really get why he'd want to invite that kind of ass kicking, but that's been the trend among X books lately. Anyway, Omega Red attacks Logan and Kitty while they're hiding out, and the shit expectedly hits the fan. Illyana is chained up to a wall, like this is D&D, and I guess all she needs is Colossus to armor up in front of her and stab to be able to actually like get down and start stabbing Ruskies again. Logan puts Omega Red down, and Colossus knocks out the Russian mob sorcerer guy. Uncle Anatoly is locked up, and the issue ends with some classic Pete and Kitty kissy face, which is, it's okay with me. Overall, kind of a disappointing end, I'd say. I was hoping for more with Omega Red. The Russian dude who resurrected him is some kind of mob guy, and according to Pete's uncle in his little speech in this issue, he wanted to use Omega Red to like take over all of Russia, which seems like kind of a huge goal. I mean, he's a mafia dude. Maybe like aim a little lower, maybe you're wanting to resurrect Omega Red to like take over the drug trade rather than an entire nation. But like, despite all of that ambition, I kind of doubt we'll ever even see this dude again. I mean, reading this issue, I started to feel a little bit like Guggenheim is missing an opportunity to plant seeds for later story points like Claremont used to do. We don't really get any development of the Russian mage guy. And I mean, I'm not even sure at this point if we'll see Omega Red again. I hope so. I mean, I hope that's not the end of him. But everything in this issue was kind of wrapped up so nicely that I guess it's hard to see what sort of, I don't know, in what context we'll see them in the future. So moving on into issue 12, and here actually, as I criticize Guggenheim for that, I'm going to have to eat my own words a little bit. because this monster, alien, mutant, whatever it was that showed up in the first arc of this series, as one of the new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, gets a backstory, and now this alien's backstory kind of makes me rethink whether I want Guggenheim planting seeds for future stories. So it turns out that this thing is in fact an alien, but he's like a mutant among his own species. I mean, it's just dumb. Is this just dumb and we've had mutant sentinels already, and now we've got to have this like mutant alien. It's completely, and like mutant brood. It's just unnecessary. But anyway, so he's this offshoot who's hated and feared by his species, and so he starts up, and this is all just in one issue, but through this little flashback, he starts up his own like Nazi party. I mean, they've got like the armbands. They don't have the tiki torches, I guess, but they do have the red armbands, and he tries to like overthrow his own government on his planet. He fails, and he's exiled to Earth, which, like, what kind of shit planet exiles a criminal to another populated planet as punishment? What a bunch of assholes. Anyway, so he's exiled to Earth, captured by Lydia Nance, brainwashed to be part of her evil mutant crew, and then freed, we see, by the executioner when he's shooting up the school. And so now, like, he gets out of the school, phones home, and I guess now his posse is gonna come and get him, and good God, hopefully take his ass back to whatever stupid planet he's from, and we never see him again, because I don't want to. I don't want to see this. This is dumb. I don't care. This is a dumb character, dumb villain, and I hope that we never ever see him again. But then Mojo shows up, and that's awesome, because hell yes, Mojo, because Mojo is amazing, and I am looking forward to this Mojo Worldwide, I think is what it's called, crossover between X-Men Gold and X-Men Blue coming up. So Mojo is amazing. That stupid alien sucks. I don't know what that says about my taste, but probably that I'm right. Anyway, so moving into X-Men Blue 11 and 12. So 11, Beast inadvertently summons the Goblin Queen and her Hexmen, and he's about to eat, I guess, Psyche and Jean now that he's like all demon possessed. Most of this, kind of interestingly, was narrated by the Hex version of Storm, who is called Bloodstorm. Bloodstorm, fine. And she's like a vampire version of Storm, which is, it's like mildly interesting given her like weird, odd past with Dracula. But so while that's going on, Jimmy, Angel, and that detective lady, I think her name is like Kira or something like that, are tracking Miss Sinister and the other Ultimate U mutants. And they go to some bunker and find that the Blob is like unconscious and full of tubes. Like he was some sort of like they were in the middle of some sort of experiment, and they just left his ass there, probably because he's too fat to move. But so he's like the only dude in this building. And he's hooked up to tubes and crap. And so while they discover that, Jean and Scott escape their headquarters, and then find and ask the Raksha for help against what's going on in their house with Madeline. And then at that point, Madeline reveals her plan to summon all the versions of herself so they can hang out, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand. So there's like, I guess, a million billion versions of Madeline Pryor. And she wants to summon them all, because I guess we don't have enough alternate versions of already established characters. So we end there and move into 12, which is continuing with Bloodstorm's narration of events, which is at least kind of a sort of interesting perspective for a story that probably itself isn't exactly all that exciting. But she's mostly focused on Madeline's promise to free her from her like intense vampiric hunger in exchange for helping her complete this mission to like summon all these different stupid versions of herself. And so she's questioning Madeline's reliability to actually fulfill that promise, which is a pretty reasonable position. So Blob then wakes up in the bunker, and he's naked and he has no idea what's going on there, but he knows, he sees he's got tubes in him, and he sees X-Men. So, he just assumes the worst, goes crazy, and starts beating on them. And as he's beating on Jimmy, he starts like melting. I don't know. His face melts, and it almost looks like there's like robot parts under the face melty bits. I don't know what's going on with that. And then I think he actually goes down, like he goes down a drain. Like he literally drips through a drain in the floor. I guess that's why it's there. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm assuming it has something to do with Mother Vine, which I'm guessing is some sort of like virus that has maybe something to do with how the mutants were created in the Ultimate Universe, since they were like man-made. It was like a science project, I guess, in the Ultimate Universe. I did not read Ultimate X-Men. I did not really like Ultimate X-Men, and I don't really like that. I don't know. I don't dig the whole mutants are a science experiment thing. Anyway, but so I don't know. I'm guessing that's what's going on there, and that that whatever they're doing with that is probably also tied into the secondary mutations that we've been seeing, like Toad's flame tongue. So it's interesting enough. Like I'm curious enough to see how that's going, and I really like Miss Sinister as well. So that's all that stuff is pretty promising. And from there we cut back to Madeline summoning her other selves, and they're flying around like Ghostbuster style. Bloodstorm convinces Hank that he has who's demon possessed, but I guess still has most of his mind intact, and she convinces him to betray her because that'll like take away her power, and so he does, and that's enough to like reverse all the crazy demon magic, and they banish Maddie and the Hexmen, everybody except Bloodstorm. For some reason, I don't know why, she's still around at the end of this issue, and Psyche invites her to stick around. And I mean, like I said, I guess feel free to disagree, but I am not sure another alternate version of another X person is something that really anyone who's reading these books is looking for at this point. I don't know what the hell like actual Storm, 616 Storm, has been up to since we saw her at the beginning of X-Men Gold. But I'm much less interested in what Bloodstorm will be up to. So I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm at. I still enjoy, I mean, as much crap as I'm talking, I still enjoy this title overall, but Bloodstorm, cool, Mother Vine, and yay, Miss Sinister. Okie dokie, into Astonishing X-Men number 3. Shit, I like this title. Most of what drives this issue is Logan. So he knows he's in the astral plane. He's making his way to a tower in the off in the distance, like the Dark Tower style off in the distance, where he believes Farouk is. And so Farouk is like putting all this crap in front of him. And Logan just kind of knows it's BS and just keeps walking. So like it's like he sticks ninjas, the Hand, Sentinels, whatever, Hulk gang kidnapping his kids, all that crap. And Logan just ignores all of it, and just keeps walking till he runs into Xavier. And he also thinks when he sees Xavier that this is more Shadow King bullshit. So now at this point, I don't know if I'm slow, but so like basically Xavier battles Logan in an attempt to like get his attention, and tells Logan that he's disguising this battle that he's having with Logan as though it's a fight between Mr. Sinister and Logan to throw the Shadow King off, like some like subterfuge, basically. it cuts over to Xavier. So at that point, as he's explaining that to Logan, it cuts over to Xavier and Farouk. And Farouk believes he's won at this point because he's gotten Logan to engage with Sinister. And then Xavier says some cryptic things about Logan, saying he's like a broken man, but has his uses. And that he's a pretender, not his, because it's old man Logan. So he's a pretender. He's not the 616 Wolverine that we all know and love. But at the end of this issue, Logan wakes up in the real world where he is with Betsy, where Betsy's got them. Betsy, Bishop, and Angel are kind of standing guard, and Betsy's sort of facilitating all of their connections to the astral plane. And so he wakes up, and he's all like possessed, like all black-eyed, Shadow King possessed, and stabs this police officer who's up there with them, who's like, I mean, Psylocke and Warren and Bishop are trying to explain to like the cops, like, you know, we know like the top half of this building is gone. And we've got a bunch of mutants here just laying around, but trust us, you know, we're doing something and it's all totally cool. And it turns out it's not cool because Logan wakes up and kills this dude. It looks like, anyway. I mean, it looks like pretty pretty much a death blow. So, and that's where the issue ends. I have no idea what to make of it. But I do dig it. This is definitely like the best straight up X-Men title going right now. I probably still enjoy like Generation X and Iceman just a little bit more, because those books, there's a little more like character work, I think, going on in those books. But this, like, for a solid story with a solid team of straight up like A-list X-Men characters, I would say this book is kicking ass. Charles Soule, holy crap. I mean, I still think he's kind of a butt for IVX, but hats off, you know, he's killing it on this. So yeah, big time thumbs up. Astonishing X-Men. You should definitely be reading that book if you are not doing so already. Into Weapon X number 8. So we pick up where we left off on issue 7. The Weapon X crew confronts the Hulkverine, I guess is what I'm going to call him. I guess with some news out of NYCC at this point, it sounds like Hulkverine is probably going to get his own book, and it's going to be called Weapon H. So I guess I should probably call him Weapon H, but whatever. Anyway, Weapon X crew confronts Weapon H, and Logan attempts to play the diplomat that blows up in his face. And Hulkverine here pretty much wipes the floor with the entire team. I mean, he guts Warpath, body slams Yuriko, drop kicks Sabretooth, and guts and drowns Logan, and then bails on all of them without even touching Domino. And so from here we follow Hulkverine, now back in human form as Clay, I guess that's his name, to some remote cabin where he seems to be having like flashbacks about, I'm guessing, his family, who maybe used to live in this cabin, but it's now being occupied by, I guess, a militia. They're called like the Eagle Star Corporation. They appear to just be a militia. I have no idea. And so the Weapon X crew tracks him there. And Sabretooth is kind of like fed up with Logan's leadership at this point, and is kind of fed up with trying to take Weapon H alive. So he attempts to take matters into his own hands, kicks Logan out of the way, and tries to basically go into the house where I guess Weapon H is, and attempt to execute him when Laura shows up out of completely nowhere. And that's where it ends. I mean, not bad overall. I do actually like what Pack is doing with Clay. I'm kind of interested in this kid's backstory. And I still just love this team's chemistry. Pack has such a command of their voices. It's really fun to read. And you know, I don't get me wrong, I love Laura, but I don't think we really need her in this book. And as much as I am enjoying Clay, I was hoping at least that the Weapon H, the Hulkverine thing was temporary, but it sounds like it's not gonna be, if he's gonna end up with potentially his own ongoing. But all in all, I mean, it's still Weapon X is still a totally solid book. Eight issues in, and excited to see where it keeps going. All right, Generation X number 6. I love this book. 100% of the fun of this book is just hanging out with these characters. So in this issue, it starts with Hindsight noticing that Benji is like falling asleep in class, and he assumes that Quentin has something to do with it, which is not a major leap. And so I guess he touches Quentin and steals basically all his memories in the middle of class, and finds out that Quentin has been dragging Benji out at night to hang out and just do dumb shit, which, fine. It's a little interesting. Quentin also still has a thing for EDA. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I've also heard people pronounce her name as ID. But one of the Generation Hope mutants, the Fire and Ice girl from Africa, I think it's IDIE. I mean, I just feel like it's EDA. That certainly sounds better than ID, but whatever. Anyway, it's kind of a weird relationship, and I feel like we saw that a little bit in maybe the second volume of Wolverine and the X-Men, I think, is sort of where that relationship kind of first started to bud. I can't remember. Well, no, maybe it was the first volume, Jason Aaron's run, that we actually first started to see that. I don't know. It's kind of a strange attraction, I think, that Quire has to her. I don't entirely get it, but maybe it's just that, like, she's a nice person and he's a piece of shit and opposites attract. I don't know. Anyway, we get a nice little scene here as well in the middle of this issue with Jubilee and Chamber of the OG Generation X crew patrolling Central Park and looking for M, and they end up stopping a robbery together. It's kind of a pointless scene, but I mean, it's just them kind of hanging out, and it's fun. It's fun. I can't explain it. It's fun. Hindsight decides to invite himself along to Quentin and Benji's next outing, which occurs at an auction being held by Cade Kilgore of the Kitty Hellfire Club that we also saw originally in Jason Aaron's run on Wolverine and the X-Men. And he's auctioning off a vial of Nano Sentinels to whomever is offering to do the most hits, like murder hits, like mob style executions, I guess, for him. And rather than bid, Quire, Benji, and Nathan decide that they're gonna just steal it. That's pretty much the entire issue, and it's an exciting setup, and I'm ready to see what happens, what their plan is to steal this vial from the auction winner. I mean, much like what Pac is doing with Weapon X, I think Strain is doing here. She has such a command of the voices of these characters, and the relationships she's developing among them are so entertaining and such a pleasure to read. I mean, I know there was some griping about the characters in this class, but she's doing like when we originally heard about who was going to make up this team, but she's doing such a good job developing them. And I instantly care about each one of them. And remarkably, and something as fans, I think we tend to bitch about a lot when a book just focuses on like one or two people over, like Fraction's run on Uncanny X-Men was the Scott and Emma show. It was always the Scott and Emma show practically. But each one of the characters that Strain picked for this team is getting their own time to shine within this book. So I just feel like she's doing the kind of stuff that I think a lot of us have been asking for from the franchise, and doing a remarkable job at delivering. So 6 issues in, a solid book, still my favorite title. All right, Iceman number 5. So Bobby came out to his parents at the end of the last issue rather abruptly and without ceremony. And it starts out as a complete shit show. Overall, this is a pretty interesting issue. I mean, so we've known for a while that Bobby's parents have been, like, I don't know, let's say troubled about the fact that their son is a mutant. So the gay thing, you can imagine, especially after after all these years. So his dad's reaction is like probably it's the harshest. I mean, it's kind of brutal. Where he says essentially, "Our son is dead. The Iceman wins." And weirdly, like in this weird criticism of his own son, kind of connects Bobby's value to the family as his ability to produce grandkids, which is, I guess, defunct because he only wants to do dudes. So I guess that makes it impossible for him to have grandchildren. So to break up the drama here in this scene, we cut over to Kitty helping Michaela, who we saw earlier, who has like a spit. Jesus, she has a spit. I don't know. She spits hard. She spits at shit real hard, like a bullet, like bullet spit. You know, it's X-Men. Anyway, in the middle of that, the Juggernaut shows up with a hair up his ass looking for the young X-Men, the teen X-Men, the Blue crew basically who kicked his ass off that boat and in X-Men Blue #1. So this is kind of fun too. It's stupid, but it's kind of fun because I love that these books are at least paying a little bit of attention to each other. That's nice to see and has been kind of a rare occurrence, I feel like. So while Bobby's taking out some frustration by kind of knocking the Juggernaut all around Central Park, his parents receive from Kitty this letter that Bobby was working on. He was writing them in an attempt to like come out and do it sort of coherently. And it's pretty well done, I have to say. I mean, the letter is we end. The letter is basically kind of like narrated throughout this fight scene with the Juggernaut. And it's pretty effective stuff. I mean, I'd say anyway. But at the end of this issue, we end with kind of this weird. It's kind of weirdly awkward, but I think it's essentially a positive scene between Bobby and his dad. Bobby basically talks about his ability to become vapor. I mean, his ice powers have gotten so insane. He's so absurdly powerful at this point, with the ability to create like the ice golems, that are practically and I guess we see in that Battle of the Atom crossover where one of his golems, one of his ice monsters that he created, actually like grew its own consciousness and became self-aware. I love this crap. So anyway, so now like he's talking about now he can also turn into just water vapor, I guess. And it's actually kind of cool. I like the way he talks about it. Because he's basically saying like it scares him a little bit because it's hard for him to, I guess, re-solidify, to like come back together after turning into vapor, and alludes to the temptation to kind of want to remain in that state. So with that kind of sort of strange confession, an interesting, again, I mean, with Grace's work on this book, an interesting character moment for Bobby that I think is just totally believable and immediately sympathetic. And at this point, essentially, his dad tells him, he loves him. Nothing's going to change. Nothing changes that. And that's the end of the issue. So it's a nice moment, but it's kind of also a little like mysterious, I guess. It's hard to tell sort of where their relationship is right now and what it's actually going to look like going forward, or if anything has even really changed between them. But, a solid issue, I'd say, an honest issue. And I'm glad at this point that everybody knows that he's out. He's out to everybody now, which is nice. So we can move on into the next arc, I think, which is going to be sort of a reunion with the champions, which should be pretty fun. Alrighty, Jean Grey, number 7. So, as with the earlier issues, Jean hooks up with somebody new to talk Phoenix and talk powers. And this time it is the Scarlet Witch. But now, as a result of hanging out with Doctor Strange, she's got the ghost of the adult Jean Grey badgering her about needing to prep for the Phoenix. I do not know what's going on. I do not know how to explain this. We've got Ghost of Xavier in the astral plane with Farouk, and now Ghost of Jean Grey in Teen Jean's head, kind of. And what's odd about this issue is it doesn't seem like Scarlet Witch knows the ghost of adult Jean is around. So there's a lot of like adult Jean, yelling at and badgering teen Jean to essentially ditch Scarlet Witch and start doing real Phoenix training, I guess. And the Scarlet Witch seems essentially oblivious to all of this. But then they go to the Monster Metropolis, which exists underneath Manhattan. I don't know anything about this. I don't know about this stupid monster crap in the Marvel universe. But Monster Metropolis exists below Manhattan. Everything is in Manhattan. Monster Metropolis sits underneath it because of comic books. But there's a dumb joke at this point about Monster Metropolis's customs or like immigration process for spirits or some crap. So like, I guess Monster Metropolis's border protection agency can see the ghost of adult Jean because she gets hung up in that. It's just stupid. It doesn't really make any sense. And so adult Jean gets fed up and decides to just straight up take possession of her teenage self. Phoenix flies her ass up out of Monster Metropolis and to Emma Frost's apartment, busts up Emma's windows. And when Emma de-diamonds herself after being attacked like that, adult Jean ghost possesses her. So bails out of teen Jean's body, ghost possesses Emma Frost. What the shit? But I don't know. What the shit? I do kind of like that part, but what the hell? I don't get it. Is this, I mean, I don't know if this is like legit the ghost of 616 Jean Grey. I know this series is now actually leading up to the big Jean Grey resurrection event at the end of this year. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if that's going to be like a giant crossover or whatever, but adult Jean appears like she's coming back. And Jean Grey, this solo title, is kind of slowly, somewhat ploddingly leading up to that. I don't know though. The issue's kind of dumb overall. I feel like up until we get to Emma. But I like now that we've got Emma in this, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. Actually, more than I have any other issue of this series so far, and it's all about Jean Grey possessing Emma Frost. I mean, who doesn't want to read about that? Come on. Okay, all new Wolverine number 24. First, I mean, this cover kicks ass, right? I really like it. Anyway, so Gabby is Brood Gabby now, and that blows. The Guardians are strongly considering blowing up the entire moon because it's swarming with Brood. And Laura's not having it because she's going to go rescue Gabby. So after much Brood killing and bomb setting, Laura gets to Brood Gabby just as Gabby's healing factor apparently expunges the Brood Queen from her, debrooding Gabby and making her whole again. I did not know that could happen. I suppose this means that characters with healing factors are kind of Brood proof. So, I guess Wolverine, Deadpool, whatever. Lady Deathstrike, I think she has a healing factor. There's a lot of healing factor characters. There's a lot of people who have a healing factor. So I guess they don't really have to worry about the Brood too much. Fine. I didn't know that. But the issue kind of takes a weird, a strange, dark turn that I found kind of surprising. So as they're wrapping this up, so Gabby's debroodified, they're bailing off this moon. We find out that one of the scientists on this moon is responsible for bringing the Brood there to kind of experiment on them, and it got out of hand. Big surprise. Lots of people died. So everyone's super pissed at this dude. So they get everybody off world. They blow up the moon. They just blow it up. Because whatever. Peter Quill argues that S.H.I.E.L.D. will want to take this scientist dude for questioning. One of the other scientists on the ship who was actually on the moon doing the experiments, I guess, thinks the Shi'ar should have him. Gamora and Laura don't trust either the Shi'ar or S.H.I.E.L.D. because maybe they'll want to use like whatever stupid virus or research he developed as like a weapon. So while they're all kind of debating on what to do with this dude, Rocket just executes his ass. Rocket Raccoon just straight up executes this dude. He airlocks his ass directly into space. So he's dead. And that's the end of the issue. I don't know if Rocket's like trying to build his resume for Weapon X or what, but holy shit. I don't know what to say about that except like what the hell. Bold move out of nowhere. I didn't know the Guardians were okay with stuff like that. I didn't even know. I mean, Rocket, for all the gun wielding and explosion heavy, all of that crap, I didn't know that he was like a straight up killer. This is like old school X-23, man. So hats off. I don't know. It was surprising to me. Maybe it's not as surprising to others, but I thought it was a shockingly weird and an extremely dark turn for this issue. And it's played off as kind of comedic. Rocket's just like, whatever, you guys were arguing, so I took care of it. You're like, haha, Rocket, you killed him. Wow, holy shit. So whatever. Crazy ending. Really took all the air out of the room. Pun. Thank you. Old Man Logan, number 28. We are still dealing with Maestro and his damn Hulk gang. So I do kind of like how this issue opens up. It's back in the wastelands. Logan catches a child of the Hulk gang. Cambria is her name. Stealing one of his pigs because she's hungry, and he lets her have it. And then we cut to the now with the 616, Hawkeye, the 616 regular Hawkeye. And Logan road tripping out to where the Hulks were stockpiling weapons. They find a bunch of empty nuke shells, I guess, when Cambria shows up and decides that now she wants to help, I guess because the pig, and that Maestro's like a total dick. It works well enough. It works well enough. Then we cut to the end of the issue with an image that is so absurd that it did make me smile. It is a bunch of Hulks like leaping forward into the air, out into the country with giant nukes strapped to their backs. It's just absurd. I'm really not a fan of this arc, but this panel is so stupid that it totally kind of makes up for it. Almost, I'd say. Almost. Hulk gang. And then I think like, strangely, again, additional news from NYCC. I think one of the next arcs is still like we're still going to be dealing with Wasteland stuff, I think. And then also Old Man Hawkeye is getting a book. I mean, how much more of this like Old Man Logan verse do we really need? I don't care. I don't care. I'm not really into it, but I don't know. Your mileage may vary. More power to you if you're enjoying this book more than I am. I think since the writing changed from Jeff Lemire to, I think it's Brisson writing it now. Definitely a strong dip. I'd say a marked dip in the quality of the series so far, which is unfortunate. But I don't know. I'm not off the boat yet. I'm not off the bus yet. I'm certainly gonna keep reading. I keep giving it a chance because I actually do like Old Man Logan as a character. I like him enough that I don't really miss 616 Wolverine that much. Anyway, Cable number 5, part 5 of an irrationally 5-part story about a dude who wants a sword and another dude who's like, no. I thought at the end of issue 4, Cable went to the Savage Land, but I guess He actually did like legit go to prehistoric Earth. So, okay. So Conquest, the bad guy, Conquest shows up with an ass pile of soldiers, all with pixel weapons from all the different timelines, and they fight Cable, and Cable's like, whatever, I'm Cable, and I have a freaking dinosaur army now because of technology. And I mean, that was kind of awesome. Like he sets up some stupid, I don't know, magic machine. And that makes dinosaurs pissed off at the people who are about to attack you. I guess that's generally how it works. I assume. And it's awesome. It's awesome. It's stupid. It's awesome. So the dinosaurs eat up Conquest's army. So Conquest decides to summon more army. Good solution. Your first army gets eaten up by dinosaurs. And I guess then they're like, whatever, we're full, so we bail, and then you summon your second army. So good backup plan, Conquest. Good job. So he gets his second army, so they take down Cable, because I guess Cable ran out of dinosaurs, and he gets the last piece of the time sword, and he puts it together, so he's got his Conquest, has got his time sword all put together, and he slices open a chunk of time. You know, he like slices the air, and that like opens up time. But shit, Cable switched the piece and gave him a fake piece. So it like opened up time all screwed up, I guess. And it swallowed up Conquest or something, whatever. I don't know. And good God, it does not matter. James Robinson, I love you. But I don't think you even picked up the phone to phone this one in. I don't know if that metaphor even makes sense, but who cares? So I'm glad this arc is over. I think we are getting Cable and the New Mutants next, or newish mutants, newer, different mutants, Cable and other people. I don't know. And I think Blink might be on the team. So that's exciting. I personally have never understood Cable as a solo character, but the dude sells books. He had his own series in the 90s and like an X-Man. Do you guys, X-Man, the young Cable, the Nate Gray from the freaking Age of Apocalypse timeline, that ran for like 75 issues. I don't know who was reading it. I personally believe that there is like one Cable superfan. And he buys 15,000 copies of every issue of Cable. And that's like why Cable is the only non-Wolverine mutant who can keep a solo title going. That's my theory. I don't know, but here's to you, Cable superfan. Keep up the good work and know that Midget Radio is going to continue buying Cable right alongside you, at least for the time being. Whew. All right, y'all. That is all of the X-Men books for the month of September 2017. I did not do Uncanny Avengers. This last arc of Uncanny Avengers is stupid, and it's fitting, thankfully, because I believe Marvel just recently announced that like 3 of their Avengers titles are, I guess, merging into one title, which I believe is just going to be called The Avengers. And it's going to be a weekly book, which, holy shit, I'm glad I'm not an Avengers fan. That's a little too much. But I guess like at the same time, it's 3 books that are now just going to become one book, and it's going to ship like every week. So I guess instead of 3 issues a month, essentially, if you collect all those different titles, now you're getting 4 issues a month of just one title. So not a big deal, but Uncanny Avengers is one of the Avengers titles that's getting kind of consumed by that book, and I'm certainly not going to continue reading any Avengers titles. I enjoyed Uncanny Avengers while it was Rogue and Deadpool and Cable for a while, and I kind of enjoyed that team, and I enjoyed Dugan. I thought actually it was probably one of the stronger X titles while it was running alongside Extraordinary X-Men and Bun's Uncanny, which Bun's Uncanny X-Men was super good too, but Uncanny Avengers I was actually kind of having the most fun as far as the sort of team dynamics. I thought that book was kind of the most fun, and since the writing change, It's dropped pretty hard in quality, and I think with the storyline right now, I mean, you can just tell that it's wrapping up the book. It's just kind of killing time until the last issue, because I think they're fighting like Graviton, and I don't understand why. And Graviton's like whole motive for even attacking them is just completely bizarre. He's just like, whatever, I don't have anything else to do, and everything is meaningless. So I'm gonna like reverse gravity on all your asses. It's like, seriously, what is this? Is this also gonna be a 5-issue arc? Thank you. So anyway, that's Uncanny Avengers. But like I said, that was all the X books for September 2017. Overall, I mean, pretty decent month. And again, I can't stress it enough. Astonishing X-Men, like legit quality, above the pack in terms of writing. Just a solid title. And that'll be it for this episode. I guess one real quick bit of news: NYCC, they announced a Gambit and Rogue title, and also a Legion title. And when they first announced this, like, I was overcome with joy. Like, I was really excited, and I was also like, holy shit, that's just too many. It's too many. I can't do all these. I can't read all these freaking books. But so thankfully, these are actually going to be minis. I think they're both probably going to be 5-issue minis. Though I think one of the editors was like, we're going to see how Gambit and Rogue does, and if it does really well, they'll keep writing that title. They'll keep producing that title. I don't know what really well even means anymore in terms of comics. I mean, because you can sort of, I guess if you follow the sales numbers at all, generally it's kind of down. I mean, certainly it doesn't approach the numbers that it was at. Certainly when I got into comics, like back in the 90s, of course, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. But it's still, I mean, even like comparatively, I guess, kind of down at this point. And there are countless theories as to why. But so I don't know. We'll see. Gambit and Rogue is definitely something I'm going to check out. And Legion 2, I guess, given that it's a mini, otherwise I probably wouldn't. Legion's not a character that's really interested me all that much. And I think that Noah Hawley's Legion on FX, the TV show, is like the best thing that's ever been written about Legion. So that's where I'm at. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Please check out the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast, our bigger brother and likely the more coherent production. Thanks, and see you all next month.